المجلة.
أسبوع جديد ولقاء جديد مع المجلة، الماجازين الأسبوعي اللي بيلقي الأضواء على النشاطات الاجتماعية الفنية والثقافية بالولايات المتحدة. نتصفح حلقة المجلة لهالأسبوع. محمد زكريا وإحتراف الخط العربي. معرض ريجيم تشينج ستارتس ات هوم بالعاصمة الأميركية. نبدأ حلقتنا مع تقرير عن محمد زكريا، أشهر خبير أميركي بفن الخط العربي. ولد زكريا عام 1942 بمدينة فنتورا بولاية كاليفورنيا، ودرس هندسة الطيران. إنما رحلة إلى المغرب عام 1964 غيرت مسار حياته المهنية، وكانت التجربة اللي دفعته لدراسة الخط العربي. عشق زكريا للخط العربي بيعود لعام 1961 عندما مر بالصدفة بمخزن لبيع السجاد العجمي بسانتا مونيكا، ووقع نظره على مخطوطة عربية سحرته ونمت فضوله للبحث بالحضارة الإسلامية والتاريخ العربي وفنونه وآدابه وعلومه، مما دفعه إلى اعتناق الإسلام. بدأ زكريا بدراسة الخط العربي عام 1980 بمعهد إرسيكا بمدينة إسطنبول التركية، وعام 1984 تتلمذ على يد الأستاذ الخطاط حسن جلبي، وعام 1988 أعلن جلبي زكريا خبير بالخط العربي ومنحه شهادة التميز المتقدمة بفن الخط العربي أو ما يعرف بالإجازة، جاعلا من زكريا أول خطاط خبير من أصل أميركي.
The challenge of a calligrapher is to take these things, sometimes that are very common, sometimes very rare, and expose them in a way that people see them as almost like new again, like it brings it to you as a new thing. By 1955 or something like that, this art was really moribund. It was like almost dead. And there were just a handful of people who were practicing it. There's a contest coming out of Istanbul that really started the whole thing off. Research Center for Islamic History, Art and Culture. And so they have a contest every 3 years. And it's a worldwide contest, and we have people coming from as far away as Japan and Thailand to be in it. And it really has revivified the whole practice of calligraphy. When I first started doing this work in 1961 in Los Angeles, people said, "What do you want to do that for? That's old-fashioned stuff. It doesn't mean anything. Nobody wants anything like that." And I said, "No. It's got meaning. It's got importance." And so I've been working on this angle for so long, of just exposing it and doing lectures and talks and exhibitions and things, that people are beginning to understand. Yes, there is something to this. You know, there is an art to this. You have to approach it through a cultural filter, and the calligraphy is possible to do that with it, because it brings in the way you look at something, and so you explain to people why it looks this way, what it says, and people see a whole concept of how the human being relates to God, for instance. And the calligraphy can be a bridge between the United States and the Muslim world. Like, for instance, I had done a stamp. I had a very interfaith reaction to the stamp. I had Jews, Christians, non-religious people, Muslims, everything. Everybody was using the stamp.
لعل أشهر أعمال زكريا هو طابع بريدي صدر من مكتب البريد الأميركي بالأول من سبتمبر 2001، صممه زكريا للاحتفال بعيد الفطر، وصدر منها الطابع 75,000 نسخة. احترافه للخط العربي دفع الرئيس الأميركي باراك أوباما لتكليفه بتخطيط آية قرآنية أهداها الرئيس الأميركي إلى العاهل السعودي عبد الله بن عبد العزيز خلال زيارته إلى السعودية بيونيو المنصرم. الرئيس أوباما استخدم أيضاً نفس الآية بخطابه الشهير بالقاهرة.
يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير.
With my work, I want to communicate the beauty of the old texts, the Arabic and Persian and Turkish texts of people, maybe some of them quite long gone, who had something very, very important to say about the human condition, the divine condition, you know. I'm a lover of language, and so I like to find things that have interesting language structures and ways of expression. And in that, of course, I go to the Quran, I go to the Hadith, I go to the great poetry, I go to the sayings of the great scholars and things like that. The Arabic script possibility becomes much different because it's a wave. It's not a detached thing, but it's hooked. And every position it can be in is different. And the whole things are written with an interior geometry that has to fit just right so that it has the flow of the line, you know. A constantly changing affair. You can't write everything the same way, you know. Calligraphy at its best ties into architecture, particularly like mosque building and stuff like that. There's a little mosque I designed in Georgetown University back several years ago. And the whole thing was done with really interesting colors that nobody normally would have thought of. And then I did calligraphy for it. All of the calligraphy was done on black paper with yellow ink, and it came out really, really nice, and it was very spectacular.
بالثمانينات خلال دراسة محمد زكريا لفن التخطيط اجتذبته صناعة الساعة الشمسية والأسترولاب العربي والقبة السماوية على الطراز الإسلامي ومقاييس الوقت والزمان، فبدأ بإحياء هالفن القديم. صناعاته تعرض حالياً بأبرز المتاحف العالمية.
To make an astrolabe really takes about 6 months, and it involves a knowledge of both solar timekeeping and Islamic timekeeping technique called tawqit. And a proper Islamic astrolabe, for instance, will have over 350 mathematical problems you can work out on it. It's a compendium of math. It's not a navigational tool. They were much more too expensive for sailors. So I've made 13 of them in my life. And there's other kinds of instruments like quadrants and sundials. But it helps you to understand the physical world we live in. You know, how does the sun work? You know, where does it go? You know.
أبدع محمد زكريا بفن الخط العربي بأنواعه المختلفة، وكذلك بالزخرفة والتذهيب، وهو ماهر بصناعة الحبر على الطريقة العربية التقليدية القديمة، ونحت القصب المستخدم للتخطيط، وحتى تجهيز الورق.
There's 4 elements in calligraphy. This is described in the old days. There's the paper has to be right, the ink has to be right, the pen has to be right, and then the last part of it is the skill of the writer, you see. So all those 4 elements have equal value. If one of them is defective, the whole thing is defective. The paper, this is a piece of paper. As you can see, it's got a color to it. So you have to dye the paper, and one of the things we use is tea and onion skins and certain kinds of seeds you can get, you know, that give you this kind of nice tan tone. This is called a mustar board, and you press your finger on the string, and you can see there's an impressed line on the string. Ink is generally an ink I make from burning kerosene and linseed oil. Ink is suspended in this wad of silk, and it's a very interesting process because this allows the ink to stay sort of the right amount, the right liquid characteristics on the surface, and it also allows you to adjust the right amount of ink on your pen. Whenever you find the material, you can cut it and make it into a pen. This is blank pen from Iran. I'm going to open it and cut it. to crack it, every pen has to have a crack. The penknife has got a thinner blade. If you use a thick blade on something like that, you can damage it. Then you cut the end off, and you have a pen ready to go. Old ancient philosophy used to say if you hold your breath while you're writing, the breath that you hold will go into the pen.
حالياً بعيش زكريا بولاية فيرجينيا بالولايات المتحدة، حيث بيعلم فن التخطيط وبينظم معارض مختلفة بكافة أنحاء الولايات المتحدة والشرق الأوسط، ودائماً بنفس الشعار: فن التخطيط هو السفير المناسب لكسر القيود وتقريب الشعوب من بعضها. أعمال فنية مثيرة للجدل ضمن معرض ريجيم تشينج ستارتس ات هوم، إنما بعد الفاصل خليكن معنا.
المجلة.
أهلا بكم من جديد ومنتابع تصفح حلقة المجلة لهالأسبوع. ريجيم تشينج ستارتس ات هوم أو تغيير النظام يبدأ من الداخل، عنوان المعرض اللي احتضنته صالة إيرفن للفن المعاصر بالعاصمة الأميركية. ضم المعرض أعمال 3 فنانين من خلفيات مختلفة: شيبرد فيري، دي جي سبوكي وآل فارو، جمعتهم أعمالهم المثيرة للجدل.
This exhibition evolved as we were thinking about how to bring together some artists who were making some really interesting statements about politics at this time. And all 3 artists, I find, are in a terrific dialogue, bringing very urgent issues to bear in their artwork. To see if the artists working together, their message could in some way contribute to the dialogue about positive change in the U.S. and around the world. Paul Miller, DJ Spooky, I represent and have worked with him for a while, and I knew about his new project down Antarctica, and it seemed that his message about the political issues and the environmental issues that Antarctica has now come to symbolize also fit with the theme of the show. And Al Faro's work is also, I mean, they're extraordinary objects that seduce you to look deeper at them, and there's this surprise factor. It's like, oh my God, here's these things that look like recognizable religious structures, but they're made out of guns and bullets and gun parts and steel and metal and human bone. And so this provocation of thought, of thinking about this relationship of war and militarism and violence that's embedded in the histories of all of our religions, unfortunately, and today provoking some of the strongest crises in the world that all of us need to confront and think about. Often political art seems so didactic or obvious, and the artists in this show are working on very complex, sophisticated messages using really interesting techniques. Shepard Fairey's technique is called reverse propaganda, you know, using images that look like they're propagandistic, but they provoke people to think. And he never instructs people to think in a particular way, but to provoke them to think about some really deep political issues, about government, about the role of people in government.
This image is the most mainstream image probably that I've ever made. And I think it's due to the emotion behind Obama. I didn't predict that it would take off so strongly in a viral way. Most of the imagery that I make is usually criticizing what's going on with the government, with mainstream advertising, with capitalism, critiques of the Iraq War seen through imagery from the Vietnam War, because I think there are a lot of parallels to commentary on the environment. I think that there are a lot of problems with global warming, deforestation, pollution, where we're destroying the planet.
Shepard Fairey brings his art to the streets, and he always does a public street art component to everything he does. Whenever he does an exhibition in a city, you can be sure that he's going to be out doing wall murals and street art as well.
The web got them checking for us around the globe. Checking from our coast. You busy checking coast. We diagram the game. X's and O's. You tripping over X's. We getting rid of O's. Bobbing at some hoes. Like what that smell like? Just a pair of thighs. Life rolls like a paradise. Get eaten by the parasites. And welcome to paradise. Fingertips touching with a crooked grin. You know who it is. Them students with no tutelage.
The sense that art can collapse boundaries between high and low culture, and art can be accessible to more people than ever before. I mean, that was a major change. Strong art has always had a kind of implicit political power, in the sense that, you know, many artists have made statements in their work which actually changed ideologies and the way we view the world. You can think of so many cases, especially, you know, in modern times. Artists like Andy Warhol, for example. To me, it was really a dream come true, you know, to have three strong artists in three different mediums. You know, Shepard's paintings and works on paper, Al's three-dimensional work and sculpture, and Paul's video and graphic work. Three strong artists in three different mediums making really, I think, important statements for today.
مشاهدينا، الوقت المخصص للبرنامج انتهى. وجه شكر لفريق العمل باستديوهات الحرة واشنطن دي سي اللي ساهمت مساعدتهم بإنجاح البرنامج، وبالأخص بيير جاد. لمعلومات أكثر عن المجلة، فريق العمل وإكسكلوزيف كونتنت، تابعونا على جروب المجلة على الفيسبوك. بالحلقات القادمة رح نقوم بمغامرات منوعة، منها الطريفة ومنها الخطرة والمشوقة، ودايماً the show must go on. قبل ما أنهي الحلقة بقدم لكم لمحة عن نسخة المجلة القادمة. صور إدوارد برتنسكي ضمن معرض برتنسكي أويل. عالم من السحر مع السيرك دي سوليل واستعراض كوزا. بتأمل الحلقة تكون نالت إعجابكم. لملاحظاتكم واقتراحاتكم راسلونا على إيميل البرنامج المجلة@الحرة.com، وأنا بلاقيكم الأسبوع القادم، وأكيد رح تكونوا على الموعد.
المجلة.